Hi folks, Gamerbug here again, and it's time to give an overview of the Black Death's latest updates, 0.37 and 0.38. Now, it may seem strange I'm cramming both into one video, and to be fair, I wasn't planning on doing it this way. But the problem is that the major selling point of 0.37 didn't actually work when they released it, thus I had to wait for a hotfix before I could do any kind of review of the patch, or update, whatever you want to call it. When they did announce a hotfix to address the issue, I thought, great. It was a bit late, but I waited patiently for it to arrive. And then when it actually was released, it wasn't a hotfix at all. It was the 0.38 update. So basically, they announced a hotfix, decided we're not doing a hotfix, and instead released a full update, which is very strange to say the least. So we now have two updates to discuss, and unfortunately, neither of them are going to take very long to cover, which is a bad thing in the grand scheme of things, especially as a lot of bugs haven't been fixed in either. But we'll get to that in a bit. So let's start with what 0.37 brought to the table. It was titled Blacksmith, and it touted one thing specifically, which was a new way of making and wearing armour. To quickly recap, before this point, armour was made up of a helmet, body, legs and hands. These are the areas that you would equip something into. Legs and hands basically counted also for both hands. So if you put something in the hand slot, it was a pair of gloves. If you put it on your legs, it was a pair of greaves, for example. The update stated that you can now craft individual armour pieces to layer over the standard stuff. So for example, you can wear plate over chain or leather over padded armour, and so on. Now in principle, this isn't a bad idea. It makes some degree of historical sense, so to speak. But it has odd choices and issues straight away off the bat. First, you can craft stick armour in this manner. There's three types, I believe, or maybe four that were introduced. Stick, leather, plate, and I think royal. Some of these existed as armour previously, and they've been turned into this sort of thing. But so you can craft stick armour. You can layer stick armour. So you can layer stick shoulder pads or greaves or whatever over chainmail. Now, why anyone would do this in real life, I have no idea, as chainmail is already more protective than a bunch of sticks put together. Now, the game doesn't actually recognise this, as chainmail is actually worse, from what I can gather statistically, than, for example, a heavy leather gambeson. So chainmail is worse than padded leather. Yeah, okay, fair enough. You also can't craft chainmail pieces that can layer on top of something. So you can't say craft chainmail that would go over a padded gambeson. And that was very common in medieval times. You would wear chainmail over something padded. It just protected you from the rings and the impact. So we don't have anything that's really historically accurate. We also have lost some armour types, such as chainmail gauntlets. Actually, most types of gauntlets, they're not there anymore. You can have leather gloves, but they've all gone. It's probably an error and an oversight, but it's still pretty dumb. And it just doesn't feel right. You had some really nice armour sets, and now you've got this horrible bit bob pieces sort of thing. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't look finished. I'm not a fan. Anyway, the idea is if you add armour, say, to your arm, then that part takes less damage. So a helmet reduces damage to your head, extra armour on your arms reduces damage to your arm, or if you had extra armour on your chest or whatever. Now, I'm running around most of the time myself just wearing a heavy leather gambeson, and the reason I do this is it's the lightest armour that gives the biggest defensive bonus from what I can see. Hence saying it's better than chainmail, because chainmail has exactly the same benefit but weighs way too much. And this leather gambeson I'm wearing, it just seems to protect me as much as it did since before the update. So I don't know if the hit location thing actually works. All it feels like is I'm just adding weight onto my character for maybe benefits. I just don't know. The stats for the armour seem to be completely random. The numbers that are shown can just change or stay the same at its own whim. I've had it where I've had it registering as saying I've got 12 armour with a backpack and no other clothes on, and all sorts of stuff. So it just doesn't seem to make any sense. What I have noticed is since 0.38, my weapons seem to do less damage, but that seems across the board regardless of enemies' armour, so I don't really know. Anyway, this whole new armour option immediately ran into an issue as you couldn't actually craft any of them. The game simply ate the resources and gave you nothing in return, which made 0.38 a completely pointless update until a fix came along. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. A new raid was added called Crusade. The principle behind this is sort of the same as the previous raid that was added, Attack on the North. You battle your way through a area, get to the end and gain some super loot items. In this case round it was weapons, and Attack on the North it was armour. And that's pretty much the size of it. Now what it did add some new enemies into the game. So you go into this place and Attack on the North was very bright and very open and had some new enemies as well. This is quite dark, and it's basically got heavily plague infested enemies, which like groan and are all sort of disfigured and stuff. And basically this is as close to zombies as you're really going to get in this game. So basically anyone who thought zombies in this game might be a good idea, there you go, it's kind of here. It is actually suitably spooky and I quite like it in a sense. But to be fair, just like the last raid, fatal errors happen in the game all the time. And for me this time around, it meant getting to the end was impossible. I tried 3 or 4 times and I just gave up. Pretty much just didn't work. So I don't know what the new weapons are like, if I'm perfectly honest, because I'm not spending that much time to try and find out. So other than that, 0.37, pretty much everything was fluff or broken. So there you have it, 0.37 in a nutshell. Oh wait, there was one other thing that was mentioned. This is not specifically part of the update, it was just mentioned when the update came out. So there was some news that came out that the server providers had changed from multiplay to Citadel servers. Now, as multiplay were fucking atrocious, this isn't a bad thing. There seems to be less official servers now as well, which is a good step. I don't know if that's because Citadel aren't willing to just allow more servers to be out there. So that's good as well, because that's going to sort of conglomerate the player base at least into a smaller amount of servers. Now how good Citadel actually end up being, I honestly don't know. And I'm also not sure the reasons why multiplayer pulled the plug, but I'm going to assume, maybe wrong, that they just weren't making enough money from private servers on the Black Death. Now, as much as I didn't like multiplayer and I didn't think they were very good, that's fair enough that they would pull the plug on that reason, because the developers just inputted admin controls that allowed people to want to really use a server and maybe use them for RP and stuff like that. And then 2 updates later, pulled them completely. So what that meant was, I remember hiring a server for multiplayer and getting quite annoyed that I couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't stop people playing on it. I couldn't do anything. It was just absolute waste of time me hiring the server. I held off a bit and in came these admin controls, and suddenly it was worthwhile. If someone was being annoying or breaking the rules or swearing or being racist or whatever, I could boot them. But they took it away, so there is literally no reason to rent a private server for this game. You can't provide any sort of administration at all. At all. So, are we surprised multiplayer pulled the plug? Not really. So let's get into 0.38 and what new features it has dragged along with it. Well, there's literally one new feature, and it's iffy at best. What is this new feature, you ask? Well, you can now take the throne of Mercia and be known as the king, no option to be known as queen as far as I can tell, and rule the land. Well, except you can't, but forget that for now. What it actually means is you get a plot inside Raven's Reach, which if anyone's forgotten, and you may well have done because nobody actually goes to Raven's Reach anymore because it's not that good a city, it's the capital. And you can build on this plot. It seems a bit broken because I did buy this plot, and I'll go into that in a bit. And basically, like all plots, it opens up a big white highlighted area where you can build, and most of those areas you just can't build in. Didn't really make too much sense. So that's not a good start. More about it. Let's go on. The throne itself, or the plot for the throne, costs a whopping 125,000 gold to buy, which is a lot, and can be destroyed in a simple click in PvE. That's quite a bitter pill to swallow, unless obviously you're overburdened with gold. In PvP, as opposed to PvE, you're going to need to actually physically destroy the flag, so that's something at least. To defend the throne, you're going to have to build a house or something on it, because basically what you get is a throne. It's just out in the open. It just looks like a throne you'd have maybe at an arena or some sort of games. So yeah, you're going to have to build a house or something on it, which I'm not even sure you can. But then let's face it, that's not going to last all that long. And you can't move the throne, so everyone knows exactly where the throne is. And the building, as I say, is kind of limited. I will say that the fact they never fixed the anvil in Raven's Reach to be interactive, meaning you can't use it to build with or repair weapons, is at least something, because it means there's no easy repair option for somebody trying to smash the doors in of whatever you build to try and protect this. Obviously PvE, they can't do that. Another feature, weirdly, is that you become highlighted by an icon, a crown icon on the map. This shows you, or shows where you are at any time. So it will show in people's compass at the top of the screen. They go around. If they see a crown in the compass, that's the direction you're in. And if they bring the map up, they'll see your icon on the map. So they can see, anyone can see where you are as king at any time. Now, I'm not sure why this was added, because A, it's stupid if somebody just wants to grief you, and B, people are actually more interested in breaking into people's bases than they are actually killing people in this game, generally speaking. I will say it's quite amusing to watch the icon move its way around the map, because you can see what the king is up to, and in one instance I could actually see how the king on the server I was on was basically trying to go around to all the bases that they could to see if they could exploit their way into the base to take over the plot. So yeah, I suppose there's some benefit to it in that sense. So on top of this weird tracking feature, there's also the big issue that on a PvE server, you can basically surround the throne with just as little as just a load of wattle walls, and that's it. You're king forever. Because you have to remember, no structures can be harmed by another player in PvE. The only thing they can do is click on your flag and click destroy. But if these wattle walls are there and they stop you from getting to the flag, which in this case is the throne, that's it. They can't do anything. They will never. No one ever will ever be able to be king, and there's just a load of wattle walls around it. Now I know this works because somebody's done it on the EU PvE server. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I was thinking about doing something similar, so I can't really moan about it. But I didn't. I had the throne. I thought I could just do this, and I thought it's a bit of a dick move, and I just gave the throne up. I also didn't want the throne. I wanted my own castle that I had elsewhere. Now you can actually exploit, and there are workarounds that you can do to get into people's bases, like to get past things like that, but they're very time consuming and then just not worth the hassle. And actually currently I don't think you could do it at the moment. I think there's a thing that's stopping that workaround happening. So that's all there really is to actually being the king of Mercia. Doesn't really bring anything else with it. That's simply it. Maybe they could add more to it going forward, who knows, but it was just something that I don't think anyone even asked for, and here it is. So alongside this new feature, there was also a revamp to the arena. Now you battle enemies in succession. Before you had to like just go like ring a bell and some enemies would come out and you kill them. Then you could go ring a bell and some enemies would come out and you would kill them. Now you kind of go into an arena area, some people come out, you kill them, the gate opens and you go to the next and you go to the next. At the very end you kind of fight a big bad guy kind of thing who basically just takes less damage and does a bit more damage than other people, and that's about it. You can earn some unique weapons from this. Well, I don't know if you can make there's a spike club. I don't even know if you can make the spike club. I've not even paid attention because I don't care. And you can get this like weird ball-ended metal stick club thing. It looks naff. To be fair, both look naff, and there's just no point to do it. The enemies suck. Don't bother going to the arena. It's a waste of time. Notable fixes that came to 0.38. Well, basically there was a big bug that came into 0.36, I believe it was, where homesteads, which were added in 0.35, in 0.36 they added something in, and basically homesteads had a habit of resetting. What that meant was you could build a whole village, city, town, whatever on your homestead, and it would just completely reset to unpurchased, and there'd just be all these burnt out buildings that you have to clear out again. And that's it. Gone. So the fact that they fixed the homesteads resetting, this was massively eagerly awaited. People were complaining about it a lot. So it was great that they fixed it. Except they didn't. And it still happens. People thought they'd fixed it, and of course people jumped on and started doing this. I personally didn't. All I did was I wanted to test it, so I just chucked a chest or two on there. I didn't even clear the area out. I just bought the land, chucked a chest down, see if it resets. It did take longer to reset, but I think this was kind of true of when 0.36 hit as well. It took longer for it to reset, but it reset, and that's it. And then it just bang, 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 it just keeps resetting. So yeah, they didn't fix it at all. The one thing people really, really, really were screaming out to be fixed isn't fixed. So good job. The devs also broke the ability to set up a locally hosted server from the launcher menu. Don't know how they did that, but basically you get a file not found error. Some people have said, oh, have you tried completely uninstalling the game, removing all the local files and all that? Yes, I have. And it still doesn't work. Basically, you get the file not found error. Lots of other people are reporting it. Is it a big deal? I'm kind of not using local servers anymore because they removed admin controls, so I can't do anything to speed the game up to show stuff off, so I just have to do it the same as everybody else now. So, no, basically, it just doesn't work. What else? Well, I'd love to say they fixed other glitches and bugs, but they didn't. There are still lots of ways to duplicate items still disappearing from your inventory, and filling an equipment slot requiring you to relog or possibly risk eating an invisible piece of equipment. Items frequently won't allow you to drop them in a chest, again requiring a relog. Talking to vendors can still cause a fatal error, not to mention random fatal errors when just playing the game. Guards still do not attack enemy NPCs. NPC bows can still fire through walls. NPCs can be trapped in rocks but still attack you. That's just to name a few things, and the list just goes on. But the most annoying thing is none of these things seem to get fixed. They just bang on a new and often uncalled for feature. So with all these bugs still there, what's even more disappointing, there hasn't been an update or fix mentioned at all. And unfortunately, small impact games are living up to their name and having a very small impact on this game. I think there have been changes at who does what there. I think the people that dealt with the community at large, they're gone. So it just feels like there may be one or two people who turn up at work and do a bit of coding. But if we don't know something's coming, we just are going to stop playing the game. The development feels at a crawl. Radio silence is order of the day, and I honestly don't see this game going much further. As much as I still get some fun out of the game to a degree, I cannot recommend this to anyone else. it feels like it's in the dying stages right now, rather than pushing forward. And without any sign of what the future holds, and regular updates and patches, and just communication from the developers, I have no reason to think otherwise. So that's it. 0.37, 0.38, both pretty disappointing. Nothing was really fixed. Some things were added that you didn't really care about. Literally just didn't care about. And everything's gone very quiet. So, until the next time, thank you for watching, and I hope you found this helpful. Gamerbug out.